and this is just another opportunity for her to do that. She came up with this topic, which we think is a great topic for everything that everybody's dealing with now, whether, it's, your business being closed or altering work schedules. We just thought the power of a positive attitude would be a good thing to get everybody started this Wednesday morning. So thank you for joining us. I just want to take a moment and have everybody, gives Jenna an opportunity to find out who's on the call. So, we'll have you go around if you just want to give your name and your company. And, as you just kind of keep an eye out rather than unmute everybody and chaos goes, we'll just I'll try and unmute people as I call them based on where you are on my screen. And we'll just take a couple minutes to do that. I will also share on some of the Zoom events that we've been doing, these small group interactions. It does also give people an opportunity to interact with somebody or possibly make a connection that you didn't have before, just by seeing somebody on here that you may want to connect with after. So keep that in mind as well as we do this today. So I'm going to start with Lisa Lightcap.
Good morning, everybody. Lisa Lightcap, Tompkins Fist Bank, and I echo Jenna. It's nice to see some familiar faces after being in this lockdown for so long. So Jenna and Eileen, thank you for doing this morning.
Well, and thank you for joining us, Lisa. Lisa's also one of the chamber members of the board of directors. So thank you for your participation here today, Lisa. Heather Stamen.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Heather Stamen. I am a brand marketing manager with Rhodes Energy, and locally here we have two divisions, Boyertown Oil and Propane, and then Atlas Oil, and we cover 5 counties, 6 different brands, so keeping everybody warm and cold.
Thanks, Heather. Marie?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Marie Shires. I work for Seco PA. We are a small business financing source. We help administer loan programs for small businesses, local programs, state and federal programs. And we've been quite busy trying to get assistance to so many small businesses in need over the past couple of months. So,
thank you. Nicolette?
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicolette Saggiamo. I work with Meredith Jacks, actually Amy Miller and Diana that are all in this call at Steyer Real Estate. I am getting my license, and yeah.
Thank you. Jim Phillips.
Hi, Jim Phillips from Plus One Technology. Good to see everybody this morning. Hi.
Thank you. Kevin?
Hi, Kevin Gaines, American Financial Management Group, financial advisors. We've been somewhat busy here these last few weeks. Everybody's got a lot of questions. So I appreciate this start time being as early as it is. So I was able to take advantage before my day gets started. So, and to echo what everybody else has been saying, it's just good to see people. Thank you.
Megan Dennis, sorry, Megan Dennis.
Hi, Megan Dennis from Gage Personnel. You may hear background noise. I have a 1-year-old in the background. He's not in this room, but I never know when that's going to change.
We understand in this environment. Beth?
Good morning. I'm Beth Desch, founder of Pottstown Children's Discovery Center and emerging interactive children's museum for Pottstown.
Betsy?
Good morning. Cheers. Betsy from Steel River Playhouse. Good to see everybody again.
Lena? Sorry, as she takes a drink of coffee.
Hi.
My apologies.
No, no worries. I should have known I would be after Betsy, because I'm also from Steel River Playhouse. I'm the artistic director there, and we're just jonesing to get back out there and do what we do. So we're just going to do everything we can to get there.
Great, thank you. Tammy?
Hey guys, Tammy Doms with the Santander Arena and the Reading Royals. We are trying to stay optimistic, looking forward to a season that will hopefully start in October. So I'm really excited to hear what Jenna says and hopefully elevate my attitude a little bit about that prospect.
Great, thank you. Liz?
Liz Peters from Tri-County Area Federal Credit Union, business development. And currently I'm working from home and staying busy, working, volunteering, I should say, for the cluster and, just other things.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Meredith?
Hi, I'm Meredith Jacks. I'm the broker owner of Steyer Real Estate. I'm just excited to be here because I think everybody could use a little pick-me-up.
Great, well, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Diana?
Hi, I'm Diana Zaleski. I work with Steyer Real Estate. We're located in South Coventry, PA.
Great, thank you. Deb Schaefer?
Hi, I'm Deb Schaefer, and I'm also with Gage Personnel. And like everyone else, trying to stay busy at home and keep the company going while we're on lockdown.
Thank you. Esther?
Good morning. I'm Esther Long. I work at Seal Strip. Seal Strip is a small manufacturer, and we are very lucky and very happy that we have been deemed essential.
Thanks for being here. Amy Miller?
Hi, I'm Amy Miller. I'm a new agent with Steyer Real Estate, and I'm happy to meet all of you.
Thanks for joining us. Let's see, Nicolette?
I already went, but I can go again.
No, that's okay. Sorry, everybody's getting, I'm trying to follow the things. I let a couple other people in, so my screen bounced around. So
that's okay, no worries.
Thank you. Farrell?
Hi, I'm Farrell Dixon from the college, fully remote and moving through finals at this point, so yahoo.
Okay, did I miss anybody? Nick Thomas. All right, I unmuted everybody. Is there anybody that didn't get a chance to introduce themselves?
Yep, just me. My name's Anne Marie Morganti, and I'm realizing, I'm sorry, my screen just says AM, so that's what
okay, thank you.
Sorry, we've been on so many Zoom calls for school, I lost track of my login here. But I'm Anne Marie Morganti with Gage Personnel, Operations and Recruitment Solutions Manager, and we are just happy to continue to be able to support the essential businesses. Even though it's remote, at least we're continuing to help the community and keep people moving.
Great, thank you. And there's Brad. Brad, I missed you. Go for it.
Brad Herlock, Addison Tech, Digital Marketing, and I'm multitasking. I'm going for a walk while we're here.
We should all be doing that. Okay, did I miss anybody else? Okay, let me do a quick intro of our speaker that I'm happy to have with us today. As I mentioned, Jenna has worked with us for a number of different things, and she is actually an ambassador for us as well. So we have worked with Jenna multiple times, and we appreciate the insight that she's able to provide. We've done the leadership game as a chamber staff with her, and it just is an opportunity to really find out some things about yourself, your team. So the insights are great. So again, I want to thank Jenna for joining us today. A little bit about Jenna. She became a certified coach through John Maxwell team in 2017 with the mission to help people grow She coaches individuals, businesses, and nonprofits in leadership development, personal growth, and positive mindset. Jenna is a John Maxwell certified coach, speaker, and trainer, and she's a licensed teacher through the Empowered Living community and is certified in DISC behavioral analysis, which we have also done with Jenna as a chamber staff. Prior to becoming a growth and success coach, Jenna spent 20 years working in corporate marketing and advertising. She combines her passion for growth and heart for volunteerism and currently volunteers with a variety of nonprofit organizations, both locally and nationally. And I'll turn it over to Jenna.
Thank you, Eileen. Thanks so much for having me. And I'm so excited to be here with you today and to be talking about the power of positive attitude. You know, I've been talking with a number of leaders across various industries over the course of the last few weeks, and it's really interesting that everyone I'm speaking to really right now has attitude as a core element of their strategy that they're leveraging right now as we step forward into our emerging future. And so I'll tell you a little bit about my role and what it is I do as a growth and success coach. So my role is to facilitate growth. That's what I do. I work with individuals, I work with organizations, and I help people navigate from where they are right now to where it is they want to be. And sometimes that work means helping people uncover where it is they want to be. Because we may know that we're not satisfied with the current result that we're getting, but we may not know exactly what different. And so sometimes my work means coming alongside of people and helping them map that strategy and those steps to achieving what different looks like for them in their life or in their organization. You know, and that's not always easy, and it's not supposed to be, because growth isn't easy. You know, we don't grow through easy, we grow through change, and we grow through challenge, and we grow through doing things differently. And right now, we are in a season of growth. Each and every one of us, in our own ways, in our own lives, in our organizations, we're all experiencing a season of growth. But here's the really important thing to know, is that there's a big difference between going through an experience and growing through an experience. There's a difference in taking things as they come at you versus being really intentional in growing through it. And taking steps like you're taking to be here right now today make the difference between going through an experience or growing through it. Really being intentional to explore a topic that maybe is new to you, understanding how you can equip yourself and how you can equip your teams. Those type of things make all the difference between going through something and growing through something. So I just want to recognize each and every one of you for being here today and for making that choice. Okay, so we're going to talk about the power of attitude because it really is a choice that each one of us have. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what attitude is, and we're going to talk about some things that we can do to start build up the thinking muscles that we use when we're really thinking about our attitude. And so I'm going to share with you a quick story about attitude in action, and I will let you know that you will receive, later on, you will receive a lesson summary from today's discussion. So if you don't catch everything in your notes, don't worry about it. You're going to receive a summary with the key teaching points, okay? So a quick story about attitude in action. About a year ago, I'd say at this point, I started out one day by falling down the steps in my house. And not only did I fall down the steps, but I fell down the steps with a cup of coffee in my hand. That coffee spilled all over me, all over the Wi-Fi modem at the bottom of the steps. And I'm not sure if I mentioned that I have a teenager at home. So we were in like a code red Wi-Fi is down situation, okay? And, you know, I know me, and I lived with my old thinking for a long time, you know, before learning and exploring about attitude and the power that we have in that choice. And I can tell you that with my old thinking, my attitude would have gone something like this. It would have been, well, today's ruined. It's going to be a bad day. No matter what happens today, the rest of the day is just going to be a bad day. Nothing's going to go right. I might as well call it a wrap and climb back into bed. And how many of you think that if that was my attitude, that I would have had a bad day? How many of you think, yeah? Show the hands. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I would have had a bad day. And I'm going to show my screen. I'm going to show you a little bit about the why behind that. I'm going to show you a little bit about the why, okay? The why behind that is very simply this, and that is, let me get to do this, like this. Okay, so the why behind that is this. The why is because our beliefs drive our behaviors. If I believed that it was going to be a bad day, my actions, everything that I would be doing would be to support that belief. I would have predetermined the outcome in my mind. But after learning about the power of attitude and the impact that attitude has on our results, I was able to change my thinking and actually change the outcome of the day, okay? So the day instead looked like this. It was focusing not on what was behind me, I just spilled the coffee, maybe ruined the Wi-Fi modem, and shifting that focus to what was ahead of me. Because Emerson says, where your focus goes, your energy flows. So this is all about changing the focus from what we can't do to what we can do, what's negative to positive, and really shifting the focus of our actions and our energy, okay? So in shifting the focus, I went from my actions, which would have been my bad day mindset, my actions would have been like this. It would have been tuning out the people around me, to going from I'm having a day, okay, tuning out the people around me, not really engaging with them so much. That would have been my mindset, my mindset. And I'm not going to do that because guess what? I want to be able to see everyone. I like not being able to see everyone. We're all here to connect, and I want to see you. So we're not going to go in that direction. And like I said, I'm going to share with you the teaching points, so you're going to get all those. But when we're talking about changing our mindset and changing our thinking, what we're really talking about is shifting the focus from what we can't do to what we can do, from what's behind us to what's in front of us, okay? Because our attitude is a combination of three things. Our attitude is our thoughts, it's our feelings, and it's our actions. That's what our attitude encompasses, our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. And we have control. Like I said, attitude is a choice. And the first thing that we want to do to start to shift our thinking and leverage the power of positive thinking is accept the principle of emotional responsibility. So emotional responsibility means we're going to shift our mindset from playing the blame game and the who's the matter with me game, moving from things like, he made me so mad I had a bad day, or look what you made me do, or see what this experience is causing me to do. It's about shifting from that and taking on that principle of emotional responsibility and saying, no matter what's going on around me, no matter what the people around me might be saying or thinking or feeling, I am in control of how I respond to that, okay? That's where attitude becomes a choice. And leveraging the principle of emotional responsibility, okay? So attitude is the number one cause of the results that we get in our lives. And that's because of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. So we said our beliefs drive our behaviors, and our behaviors are our actions, which yield our results. So we have the ability to be in control of the results that we see in our lives, okay? I mentioned that a number of leaders that I've been speaking with have mentioned that attitude is really a core piece of their strategy right now in focusing on not what we can't do, but what we can do and looking forward and moving forward. And it makes all the difference of whether or not we see a stop sign or whether we see a detour. Okay, has anyone ever experienced that where maybe you've kind of woken up and you kind of feel like your attitude is a little off? Anyone ever felt that before? you recognize and realize, okay, maybe I need a little bit of an attitude adjustment. And there's real, there's great power in that, because our attitude not just impacts us in our results, but our attitude it has a ripple effect on the people around us. It's kind of like dropping a stone in the water and you see the ripple. So our attitude has an impact on our results. But then when we take a layer out and we take a look at kind of those 3 levels of leadership, so there's leadership of us, leadership of ourselves, there's leadership in our kind of one-to-one spheres of influence, so our one-to-one conversations we're having with people. And then there's leadership of the public, of our teams, our leadership in the community. And so our attitude has a ripple effect in the kind of those 3 spheres and those three levels of influence, okay? I am going to share with you a YouTube video that you'll have included in the lesson summary about a story of attitude in action, which is much more glamorous than my fall down the steps. But the story, the bottom line is, it's about a woman by the name of Deborah Searle, and I'm not sure if any of you have heard of Deborah, but she's a British entrepreneur and author, and she and her husband embarked on a race to row across the Atlantic Ocean, and Deborah had no formal training experience. She had experience, some training on rowing on the River Thames, but nothing like being out on the Atlantic. And when she and her husband embarked on the race the first day, they got out there and realized that her husband had a crippling fear of the open water, and he had to be rescued from the boat. And so Deborah was out there. She decided to continue the race all on her own. And instead of being out there for 6 weeks, which was the estimated time frame, she was out there for 3 months in a rowboat by herself, 3 months. And I mean, she experienced sharks surrounding the boat, storms, almost being run over by a container ship. And there was a point where she contemplated giving up, but instead she decided to put a strategy in place, which was to choose her attitude. Every morning she woke up and she said, what's my attitude going to be today? And when she was interviewed at the end of that 3 months, when she crossed the finish line, she said, it wasn't my strength that got me here. I'm not that strong. It wasn't my technical ability. I had no formal rowing experience. She said, it was literally the mental resiliency of choosing my attitude. That's what got me to the finish line. And so that mental resiliency, that ability to choose our attitude, like I said, it makes all the difference of whether we see a stop sign or whether or not we keep going. Okay, and so we have the ability to choose our attitude. Does anyone here, just by a show of hands, does anyone use that strategy right now, where you set the intention for your attitude, daily basis? A little bit, some, I see some, yeah, kind of maybe sometimes, but not always. And I understand that, that piece of things. After learning about how much our attitude really does impact our actions, for me, it's something that now has become an actual part of my success strategy, whether it's for myself or whether I'm working with clients. There's always a component of what's the attitude here. So there's, there are kind of like the action steps, and then there's the attitude. For me, the strategy that I put in place, the success strategy in my home, when schools closed about a month or so ago, it was pretty clear that I needed to develop the success strategy within my home. I mentioned I have a teenager, and I anticipated at that time where we may get to a point where we were, like we are now, kind of quarantined in the home, and that may set us up to kind of feel like we're stuck. Like we're stuck in the house. Maybe we would have some news coming at us that's a little unsettling. And so now maybe we may feel like we're stuck in the house, and now we feel like we're stuck with our thoughts. And so the response strategy was one of, what's the attitude here going to be in the home? So I put in place the attitude of gratitude. is the one that we leverage within our home. And so at the end of every day, we have a conversation where we share one thing that we're thankful for. And then we actually put it in a gratitude jar, and that jar stays in the living room, and then we can see visually all of the things that we have to be thankful for. So here's the really important piece about doing that at the end of the day is, remember I said where your focus goes, your energy flows. So it's about keeping that positive energy and reinforcing that at the end of the day to carry that forward with you into the next day. And so when you're working with your teams, this is something that you can leverage in those conversations, in some of the meetings that you're having. If you've ever heard that phrase, end on a positive note, this is kind of what that means. It's helping you carry that energy forward. There are two things that you can leverage with your teams. One would be to kind of go around and just kind of a quick check-in, one thing that you're thankful for. That can be a way to help kind of get their thinking into that forward-moving phase. The other would be, what's one thing that you learned? You know, one lesson that you learned. If you have your team meetings first thing in the morning, some have a first thing in the morning meeting, maybe what's one thing you learned yesterday? One lesson that you learned. That will help people kind of start to move their thinking in the direction of not necessarily getting stuck in mistakes, not letting them hold us back, not getting stuck in things that we may be experiencing right now, whether it's related to technology or some of the things that we may be experiencing within our homes, but how we can leverage those things to move forward and to grow through them. Okay, so those are some of the things that we can do to start building the thinking muscles as we move forward. The first one is, like I said, to remember that that principle of emotional responsibility lives within us. Each one of us has the power to identify how we're going to respond to the things that are going on around us. We can't control people, we can't control circumstances, we can't control things that are happening around us, but we have absolute control over how we respond to them, okay? We have absolute control over the attitude that we put in place, whether it's a response strategy to something or whether it's an intentional strategy that we are going to put in place at the very infancy stages of something. So for example, I have some goals that I set within my home. My attitude for those goals within my home is one of patience. I'm going to be patient with these goals. I know that some of these things are going to take a long time. They're going to take a dedicated effort over a course of time, and I'm going to need to be patient. And so it makes all the difference of how we go into that experience in the conversations that we have with people, in how we approach things, and then in the outcome that we're able to achieve. So we can choose our attitude on a daily basis. We can choose our attitude based on a goal, a project, you name it. Anywhere that you're looking to impact your results, you can look to understand what's my attitude that I'm going to put in place to have an impact, to yield the results that I want to see in my life or in my business. Okay? So again, attitude is our thoughts, it's our feelings, it's our actions, all of those things combined into one. Attitude comes from our natural wiring, so it's a part of our natural wiring, who we are, okay? It also comes from things that we've seen, heard, experienced, been exposed to. All of these things can really impact our attitude. And so some people say, well, if it's things that we've seen, heard, and experienced, meaning kind of these environmental things, then wouldn't I want to change my environment in order to change my attitude? That kind of seems like it would make sense, right? But not so much. The key is to remember that our ability to choose our attitude lives within us regardless of those circumstances. The viewpoint and the lens that we're looking at things, regardless of what we've seen, heard, or experienced, again, that principle of emotional responsibility lives within each and every one of us, okay? Now, within our environment, we can make some choices. We can choose our attitude, but we can also choose the things that we're tuning into and the things that we're tuning out. You know, we can choose the things that we're reading. We can choose the things that we're watching. We can choose maybe the people in our lives that maybe they're not always positive. And maybe we need to dial back sometimes, you know, the conversations for a little bit in terms of what those look like. You know, as we're developing our thinking muscles, as we're developing our response strategy, you know, understanding what we're tuning into and what we're tuning out in our environment can be a part of that response strategy. But, you know, regardless of what's going on around us, we can't always impact what's going on around us, but we can always impact ourselves. That's the number one thing that we have control of. Okay. So that was a real quick boiled down version. I know we had about 20 minutes. We could really spend a good hour to 2 hours really digging back and pulling in, you know, pulling the layers of attitude and peeling that back. But it really is a choice. It's one that we can use intentionally at the infancy stage and the outset of something. It's one that we can use as a response strategy to something. And it has a direct impact on our results. Remember, our beliefs drive our behaviors. Okay, our beliefs drive our behaviors. All right, and so one key is, what am I focusing on? Meaning, pay attention to what you're paying attention to. Are you looking at what you can't do, or are you looking at what you can do and taking that challenge and looking for the opportunities that exist in that challenge? So pay attention to what you're paying attention to, and always try to end on a positive note. Wrap the day on a positive note. Wrap your meetings with your teams on a positive note. And how can you help them leverage what they're learning to move forward? So again, I know that was a super quick, boiled down version. You're going to receive the lesson summary. Like I said, I didn't want to go through all these slides because that means I couldn't see all of you, and I wanted to be able to see and connect with each and every one of you. So thank you, Eileen. I know that we wanted to leave time for questions. I wanted to be respectful of everyone's time. I know we wanted to leave time for questions.
Sure. I just had a question. You know, I've worked with you a couple of times and, you know, have heard some of the different things that you've talked about. You know, and I guess as all of us are trying to, you know, everybody on here is being pulled in a bunch of different directions now, working from home and managing home life a little differently than you would when you're just managing it from work. You know, now it's actually part of your work day. You know, what are some of those, or do you have an intentional tip or an activity that you could recommend to everybody to kind of make part of their routine, you know, that may help with directing their attitude and their focus, you know, in that way?
Sure. You know, I would say, you know, especially right now, you know, it's important. I mean, it's always important to recognize your feelings and allow yourself to feel them and experience them. But, you know, kind of taking it on a day-by-day basis right now can be really helpful. When you wake up, just saying kind of, okay, what's my mode today? What am I feeling today? Am I feeling fearless? You know, am I feeling calm? Am I feeling bold? Am I like, what is that I want to step into and embrace? And just kind of allowing yourself to kind of go with what you're feeling and embrace that, and then step into that mode. You know, the other thing is that can be helpful is just kind of recognizing the people around you, and that we all have our different styles and approaches that we use to things. So I mentioned natural wiring is a little bit of where our attitude comes from. And so being really cognizant of the people around you, maybe right now in your homes, and how maybe they're a little similar to you in their behavioral style, but maybe they're a little different. You know, some styles, you know, when they're in times of stress, they go into Terminator mode. You know, they kind of block everyone else out. Get out of my way, people. I'm on a mission here. That's kind of the response mode in stress of some people, and just kind of learning how to connect with them, recognize that's their typical response to stress, but also how can you support them in their conversations. And so that's a separate lesson that I've done recently, is how to identify, you know, your own style, so your own behavioral style, how to recognize how you respond to stress and how to support yourself, but also the people around you, And then even your children, what are some of those characteristics you can recognize in your children in times of stress? And what are some just real supportive phrases that you can use to support them when they're in that stress mode? So just kind of really starting to recognize a little bit about yourself, what you may be feeling or experiencing, how it may be different now than normal, because that's the other thing too, is that, we're all pretty much right now, across the globe, many people are operating from their stress perception, which is a little bit different than their normal mode of operation. I know for me, my stress perception is different than my normal mode. For me, typically, I work quickly, I'm spontaneous, I like to be on the go, go, go. I like to connect with people. That's a little subdued right now because go, go, go isn't really happening. Connecting with people isn't really happening. And so what happens is my secondary behavioral style now has the keys to the kingdom, and I'm not used to that. I'm not used to a little bit of a slower pace of thinking, overthinking sometimes. And so recognizing, how am I working a little differently right now than I might be normally, and how can I get ahead of that a little bit and kick myself into gear, recognize, when am I starting to overthink? How am I communicating a little differently now and getting ahead of that and really proactively recognizing that?
Thank you.
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions for Jenna? As Jenna mentioned, she's going to send me the YouTube video that she referenced, as well as the additional materials, and I'll get those out to everybody that's participating today. But please feel free to, we've got a couple minutes left, so she's here now. So if you want some tips or have some questions, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, questions or even a takeaway. If you want to share a takeaway, something that you maybe something that you learned today that you didn't realize before, and maybe something that you already knew, but this kind of reinforced for you. So I'd love to know, what were some of your takeaways from today?
I actually have a question, Jenna. It's Lisa
Sure.
Lightcap. So being in commercial lending, and I'm like you, I'm usually, and Eileen, I'm out, I'm with people, we're doing new business, we're learning new business, we're on the go. So now my job has changed. I mean, we always have to manage our portfolios, but now it's really managing it with the investment properties, and so many of our people, their rents aren't coming in. So every call you do to see what you can do to help these people kind of has that doom and gloom to it, if you will, because people are struggling. I mean, that's a fact. So how do I overcome that to some extent? I don't want to say that what they're going through isn't legitimate, because it absolutely it is, but how do I keep myself more positive and not get drawn into all the negativity?
Yeah, and that's such a great question. And it's really interesting. Connecting with a group who is like a business of those same challenges, because you do need to be fully engaged and present in those conversations, and certainly have compassion for people. But at the same time, I think the key is to not necessarily absorb all of that. There's a difference between listening to it and actually kind of absorbing even the physical part of that kind of emotional experience. And so if you have a way to kind of release, shake it off a little bit, if you have your calls, let's just say you can schedule them maybe in 15-minute intervals or half an hour intervals, giving yourself time at the end of that half an hour to just kind of get up, take a walk, take a break, take a breather, but scheduling those really intentional breaks for yourself to breathe it off, shake it off. Because what can happen, Lisa, is something called the 3 R's. When we don't have a way to kind of release some of that stuff that we may be holding on to, negative thoughts, those heavy emotions, what happens is something called the 3 R's, which are resentment, restriction, and revenge. And those can happen in big ways or small ways, you could have a resentment towards a person, a place, a thing, an event, an experience. So you could start to resent that. Could happen towards yourself. We could resent ourselves sometimes. So resentment, restriction happens in a few ways. What happens with restriction is sometimes we restrict our potential. So we say, you know what, this is way too much. Like, I'm just not even going all in. I'm not going to give it my 100%. Let me just cruise through it, slide through it, get by. But that's not going to serve us, certainly in the long run. It's never going to serve us to push our potential down. But when we want to go back and actually use it, we got to dig really far to pull it back out again. So, restriction in young people, sometimes restriction can look like things like eating disorders. In relationships, it can look like restricting a hug, affection. And so there's resentment, restriction, and then revenge, big ways, small ways, against ourselves or against others. Things like, oh, you need that file or that information, and you wait about 3 days before you give it to them. So resentment, restriction, and revenge. And so if you don't have an intentional way to release some of that emotion or the negative energy, and those are some of the things that can happen.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Maybe can we do one takeaway maybe, Eileen? Would that work?
That would be great.
Okay. How about anybody want to share a takeaway? Something that you took away from today? Maybe something you can put in place, put in practice. Betsy, yeah.
Well, this is a really good reminder for me. In my previous career, and I actually still do teach martial arts. And in Chinese martial arts, we have a saying, which I wrote down to remind myself, the yi leads the qi to li. And what that means in English is the mind or intention leads the energy to take an action. And in martial arts, we use that, well, we're teachers, so we use it however we need to in the class at the time. But it's exactly this concept that you're talking about. Our intention or our attitude causes our energy to do a certain thing, and that thing is either going to be appropriate or inappropriate, good or bad. It's going to cause progress or regression depending on, but it all starts here. So thank you for that reminder. That's something I haven't taught in my classes for a while, and they're all going to get lectured tonight. And I'll blame you, Jenna.
No problem. Thank you so much for sharing that, Betsy. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Does anybody else have a comment they want to make? If not, I'll just make a few closing. Oh, Megan, go right ahead.
I don't know if it's, I guess, obvious. I don't necessarily think of taking things from one day to the next, positive or negative. I just try to start each day, as Anne of Green Gables would say, new with no mistakes in it. For anybody who's familiar with that series. That's all I've got.
Well, and I love how you shared that, because it really is like we wake up each day with a fresh, clean piece of paper. We've got the pen, and and we can write the story. We're in control of what that looks like. But we really do start each day, fresh and clean. So I, with the new fresh start, to each day. So I love how you shared that. Thank you.
Well, and, I think this is, just a time to remind everyone, as well. I think there's new opportunities that all of us are looking toward, and I think approaching them with a positive attitude is, the best all of us can do right about now. So, if there's something that you're looking for help, with, you're on this call in most cases because you're a member of an organization, and it's about supporting each other. So I hope you take away from today some tips on how to readjust your mindset or your thinking, but also look at it as an opportunity. What do you need from a group like this, from your chamber community to help you get to the next, point. So I mentioned today, this was our first sort of virtual event that we were offering out. We're going to continue to do so. I have a few chamber members that have reached out that have an interest in presenting on different topics. So I'll continue to market those as I get them scheduled. This virtual world that we're all working in now, our speaker who was going to be at our Reach half-day conference, we were bringing her in, Sylvie DiGusto. She's going to be doing a presentation for us next week. So I'm working on getting some information out on that today. We're going to do a virtual networking, not your typical business card exchange next Wednesday. I'll also be putting that information out. So again, just an opportunity to, just see faces, hear names, companies, what businesses are up to. And it just gives you a different way to stay connected. But, as I mentioned, is happening on some of our other calls, maybe connect with some new faces. I thank a lot of you for joining us today as I'm looking around at my squares, whether they're just names or whether they're pictures. They are names that I have not interacted with previously. So I appreciate you coming and joining us today. And again, if you're looking to tell your story, we've started doing Facebook Live shows on a regular basis. We had been doing them sporadically, but now we're going to do Facebook Live every Monday and Wednesday at 2. So we're using that opportunity to tell the story of our chamber members. So if you want to be a guest, we give you about 15 minutes to be interviewed. You can talk about your company, you can talk about COVID, you cannot talk about COVID. Whatever it works for you to use that forum for that 15 minutes. Jenna's going to be our guest today at 2 o'clock to talk about her company and maybe follow up on some of the information she gave, today and kind of continue that conversation. So, there are opportunities to stay engaged. If you're looking for something else, please, a lot of you have been members long enough to know I'm extremely accessible, and this is your chamber. So if there's something you want to see happen, if there's something you want to offer, if there's a topic you want covered, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and we'll see if we can make it happen. So.
Eileen, I just have one quick thing I wanted to say.
Yes.
I just want to thank you. I know how hard it is to try to rethink how you do business, especially when you've been doing it for so long. And as somebody kind of in a similar position, it's like, part of the struggle and part of, a lot of people's negativity is also just fear. Because we don't know what's next, and none of us can really figure out exactly what's happening right now either. So I just want, for all those businesses out there that have had to adjust and have had to make changes, you guys need to be really proud of yourselves for all of the things that you have been able to do in spite of, the restrictions and stuff. And I do think that keeping your people positive and just being proud of the things that you can accomplish and keeping focused on, how to just improve those things is going to be a huge way for people to just, be thankful for the things that they're able to do right now.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, it's been interesting.
Well, we think you're doing a great job. So thanks for your help.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much, Meredith. Thank you. And I did see there's a comment in the chat. Nicolette, if you want to email me, I'm working on scheduling those Facebook Lives. So you can just shoot me an email, Eileen@TriCountyAreaChamber.com. I have an ongoing list. So I'm just working through contacting those individuals and seeing when they're available for Monday or Wednesday at 2. So I'm happy to add your company to the list, and we're just going to keep plugging them out there and, continue to tell the story of our chamber members. So happy to add you.
And if I could just kind of real quickly, Meredith said something that I think is so important. Well, number one, certainly recognizing yourself and what you've done to come to this point to bring us all together and in moving forward. Just really, truly want to echo what Meredith said, and thank you so much for you and for the chamber. And the other piece is really recognizing the accomplishments. The things that have happened to get to where we are. There are 3 questions that you can use to really recognize the things that you're doing. Often we can be in a mode, especially kind of in the foundational stages of something, when we're building something new or going through change, we can be putting a lot of effort into something, but not necessarily seeing yet a tangible result for all of the effort that we're putting into it. And that can tend to be a little demotivating sometimes. And so something that can really help with attitude is at the end of every week, writing down these 3 things. Number 1, what did I accomplish this week? Number 2, what lessons did I learn this week? And number 3, what are the 3 critical things I need to make happen next week? What are the 3 things I need to accomplish next week? So that can really help us recognize what we are accomplishing, even if we're not yet seeing a result in our hand. We're building relationships, we're building foundations, processes, systems. So what did I accomplish? Recognizing what you learned will allow you to leverage it for moving forward. Remember, I said there's a difference between going through something and growing through something. Leveraging that growth for moving forward is in the learning lessons. And then what are the 3 things for next week? That can just help, when you've got a list of 50, it can help to really keep your main priorities on track and moving in a forward direction. So thank you, Meredith, for bringing that up.
Great. And, kind of talking about that same, piece, Jenna's shared those before, and, I look forward to putting them in place, as we are trying to figure out what the chamber looks like moving forward. But as I mentioned, we have a reach group that meets every other week, and I'm going to steal Tammy's quote. Tammy shared this with us on our first meeting, and I think it kind of helps us all stay a little positive. You're only unproductive by the standards of the world we lived in 2 months ago, and that world is gone now. So when you feel like you're not quite as productive as you could be, remember, this is not the world that we were in, like it says 2 months ago, and that, we all are trying to figure it out, and that productivity looks a little different now. So I thank Tammy for sharing that before, because I think it helps you keep things in perspective. So does anybody have anything else that they wanted to share before we call it a morning?
Just one little thing. I don't know, Jenna, if you're looking at your chat, but I did send you a little note.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I just want to again thank everybody for joining us. I will stay in touch. You can keep checking your email and social media posts. Again, social media for anybody who is, sharing their own stories. Feel free to tag us, and we will try and get that shared on the chamber page. But we'll stay in touch with upcoming sessions. And, I'll send a follow-up with Jenna's information, but for those of you who may not have seen the other things, I'll include information on our REACH group that's meeting, our CEO roundtable group. You do have to be the business owner to participate in that particular group. And then some of the upcoming sessions we have going. And I look forward to seeing everybody again real soon, and sooner rather than later in person, but I know that's going to be a little bit. So, but thank you all for your time this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you very much, Jenna.
Thank you.
Thank you.